Okay, so I wanted to give you a brief introduction on how to bulk update firmware. Now, everybody knows at this point that you can go to Settings, Firmware Policy, and you can choose group level firmware. However, I want to push a firmware out to a whole bunch of routers. And over the course of the years with this customer, we've pushed custom firmware to a whole bunch of different routers. And so you'll see here, I've got the HD1 Dome Pro with the 8.5. But we have all these routers that are not following the rules for that. And so basically my all these domes are not upgraded. So I could click on all of these links and then go in and say follow group policy. Or I can go to dashboard, scroll down, click edit, select all of these devices. Then I can just go to actions, firmware. And now I can select these devices in bulk. So I can say follow group policy, follow group policy, follow group policy, follow group policy. And it's going to reset all of these devices all at one time to follow group policy. In which case, now I can go to the firmware policy. You can see there's my pending firmware. It's already pushing out to all the HD1 Dome Pros, 8.5 firmware. And so now I can come in here and there's still 2 left. It means that there was probably 2 pages. So I could modify those. Or I can go back to dashboard. You can see now I'm pushing out this firmware, this 8.5 firmware to all the domes. I bet you there's a page 2 here. Oh, yep, there it is right there. Page 2. Edit. Select all. Actions. Firmware. And say follow the policy and follow the policy immediately, say changes. So now I've updated all these apps. I can use this feature also to upgrade firmware custom. So if I want to push firmware out just to a handful of devices, I can do the same thing, but push the firmware just to those devices. So for example, if I wanted to update just these MBXs, I could click on these MBXs like this, and then go to actions firmware and then just push firmware to those devices. So I don't have to go to each one of them. I don't have to apply it to all devices. So by using the edit and select and then the actions menu, you can actually fine tune which devices will get the firmware. And you can see that these are now all rebooting with the 8.5 firmware. So instead of clicking on all those devices and updating them manually, so they'll follow group policy or pushing the 8.5 firmware manually to them, I'm able to just select them all, tell them to follow group policy, and then use group policy to push that firmware to those devices. Anyways, I just wanted to give you this quick introduction into using the actions menu to push out firmware to devices. Thank you so much and have a great day.